Hello everybody and welcome back to another entry into our dev interview series. We were visiting last weekend PAX East 2025 back in Boston, and even though the footage here it looks a little bit grimy and cold, it actually wasn't that bad. The first 2 days seemed to be more rainy than when we finally arrived on a Saturday. Then the weather cleared up quite lovely. Not sure we have anything to do with that, but I'll take it. Most of the time though we were inside looking at the big expo floor and talking to the different developers and see all the games that they had out on the floor. The first game that we got a chance to check out and have an interview with was with the guys from OneMoreGame, and we were looking at their game Swapmeat. When I first saw the busy booth for Swapmeat, I wasn't quite sure what I was walking into. What I witnessed was a game that looked like something between a mad scientist laboratory and a Nickelodeon fever dream. Presented as a third-person co-op roguelite, it's all about building your dream freak monster by stealing the body parts of your enemies. Think Diablo meets Earthworm Jim and just a spritz of body horror. In the game, every enemy you defeat becomes part of your arsenal. Literally. You tear off their limbs, torsos and heads and attach them to your own character to gain new abilities. Movement mechanics and weapon upgrades, all of it is grotesque, absurd and mechanically fascinating all at once. To get a better handle on the madness, I met up with Jamie Stormbreaker, co-founder of OneMoreGame and lead designer of Swapmeat. We talked about the game's origins, inspirations, and the bizarre design space of meat swapping mechanics.
Okay, guys, I'm here together with Jamie. He is from
OneMoreGame.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about Swapmeat. What brought you here? Is this your first game? A little bit of history of what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Jamie Stormbreaker. I'm one of the founders of OneMoreGame, and I'm also the lead designer on Swapmeat. This is our second game. It is a third-person cooperative roguelite shooter with a core mechanic where when you defeat enemies, they drop one of 3 different body parts: legs, torso, or head. You can swap your body parts with their body parts, which we call meat, hence Swapmeat. When you swap body parts, you get a different ability. Every part has a different ability on it. Legs are movement, torso and head are damage abilities typically. Like I said, it's up 1 to 4 players.
Okay, so that's 3 body parts you can change, but how many different parts are there in the game for each of the 3?
Yeah, so right now, I think there's something on the order of like 30 different body parts, 20 different body parts within that window.
And then times 3, combining it, there's a lot of combinations.
No, I think, I think that is the number, but that's not like each of a head or torso or legs, yeah. But there's a lot of different combinations, and the way that you combine them is totally up to you. Them by themselves are powerful, but some of the things that we found that to be particularly interesting is that by combining things like wasp torso and spider legs, they themselves will create different combinations of different abilities that you can do or you'll have because you have both of them equipped.
Right, so they complement each other in certain ways.
They can complement each other, yes.
Okay, and so you can really adjust it to your own play style, or do you need certain combinations to overcome puzzles within the game?
I would say it's both. So there's play style, there's preference, it's what you want. There's also environmental hazards, on what we're showing right now is Act 1. On Stage 1, there's big pools of water, and water wraps around the environment. If you go over and you shoot fish and sharks in the water, they'll drop octopus legs. You pick up the octopus legs, you get in the water, it's basically hydro thunder. You're going faster. So it acts as like movement around the environment. Or we have maps where there's a lot of verticality, and so there are certain certain meat that will allow you to get to higher places, and so you might want to equip those. And then there's boss fights in the game. At the end of every act, there's a boss fight. The boss fight is a set piece. It's like Destiny 2, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14 inspired. And one of the most enjoyable things building this game has been figuring out what this mechanic is. There's no, like, we couldn't go look at another game for a comp. There's no other one that has this mechanic. And it's like really the first time I could ever say that about any game I've ever worked on. No, this mechanic does not exist anywhere else. And so finding ways to use it has been paramount in all of the design. So designing a boss, I'm a huge MMO player, been playing my entire life. And so finding ways to make meat and meat swapping work in a boss fight where the boss or its minions can drop very specific parts and then using them as a puzzle. So that's another way that we use.
So that kind of multi-layered boss fights in a lot of ways. You don't just like big boss, more hit points. There's more to it to figure it out.
Absolutely. You have to figure it out. You're not going to win. They're tuned in a way that you maybe could overpower some of them, but you really do have to mostly engage with the mechanics or at least understand them at a minor level.
Now you say you're a big MMO fan, so is this a single player or is this multiplayer?
This is single player or multiplayer. So it's single player, up to 4 players cooperatively, and it's drop in, drop out multiplayer. So if you want to play single player, all good. If you want to join a friend, you just drop into their game. If you got to go, you just get out of the game. The game scales dynamically in difficulty based on how many players are present. And then also we have non-linear narrative progression. What that means is if you're at the end of the game and I just complete the tutorial, but I want to play with you, I can join your game and I will be the same level as you. I can defeat the boss with you. You're like right at the end. And I want to go back to my game. I'll still have credit for defeating that boss. But I'll be where I was at in the story.
So if you do part of the story together and you go solo, you still have that progression as well up to that point?
Exactly.
Oh, that's
so
perfect.
Yeah, if you think about like Diablo 2 was my inspiration. If you remove the RPG elements of Diablo 2 and instead you just looked at that quest journal, well, I could just join your game, and if you're fighting Duriel, we'll beat him, and then I've still beaten Duriel.
You don't have to redo it again when
you don't have to redo it.
So what inspired you to get to this theme of Swapmeat? You said a lot of things, your MMOs, your Diablos. I could see a lot of gameplay inspiration, but what is sort of the inspiration for you to get to the idea of a character that swaps pieces?
Okay, so there's a couple good pieces here, right? So there's the mechanic, like where did that come from? So our art director, Jason Stokes, in the summer of 2023, we were sitting down, we were trying to figure out this new game. I'm writing up a product brief that's like, I want to build a third-person shooter. I want us to build something that's cooperative. I want us to build something that has no servers. I want us to build something that's not free to play. I want to build a premium game. So there's like a lot of these things that I'm kind of forming around the properties of the game that we want. And while I'm doing that, Jason is talking with me and the team, and he's saying, hey, I had this prototype that I wrote a while ago. It was Contra inspired, so side scroller, and you could pop your head off of yourself and like drill onto other enemies, and you get their guns and their abilities. Very different game. It was Contra, not a roguelike, not a third-person shooter, but it's like, oh, that's a compelling idea. It's something you could describe to someone immediately. It's something that we were able to distill down to literally the name of the game, Swapmeat. That's why we call it that. That's what you're doing. And so he had this idea. We're like, I think we can make that work. And so that's how we started prototyping and figuring out what does that look like in a third-person shooter. And then there's this game would be impossibly hard to make if it was like photorealistic.
Right.
It'd
be
a horror game. Like it's not going to work.
Interesting way to go.
Yeah, it's not really going to work. So we knew that we needed something that was playful, something that was probably absurd in its humor, and something that was probably humorous. And a couple of us on the team, I would consider the writers. Everybody contributes. Everybody, I encourage everyone to show up to work every day and make each other laugh. Like if you do that, you're going to make players laugh too. But a couple of people, including primarily Jason, I would say, it's just one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. And we're inspired by things like Rick and Morty, Invader Zim, 90s Nickelodeon, early 2000s Adult Swim, Tim and Eric. I think you should leave.
I can see that. Yes, I had a weird maybe sideways, but I felt a bit of Earthworm Jim in there.
Earthworm Jim is definitely one that gets picked up, for sure. Yes, that one. I wouldn't say we explicitly said that, but
it's the
definitely.
feel. It's the feel. Right? You're not playing Earthworm Jim, but it had to fit.
The humor's there. I would definitely have the joke where you launch a cow in level 1, and then at the very end of the game, it lands on the princess. Yes, that is brilliant.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so how far are you right now from release of this game?
So we're not considering release just yet. What's right in front of us is our next public playtest, which is Meat Lab 5. We've been running these public playtests for the last little bit over a year, probably. This should be our biggest one. It starts on Thursday, May 15th. It'll run until May 22nd. It's open to anybody. If you go to playswapmeat.com and sign up, invite your friends.
And unfortunately, that is where we had technical difficulties and lost the rest of our interview. For the next 20 minutes or so, we had a deep conversation about their design choices, the fact that the graphics will actually still be changing and evolving, and that they really want the community to be involved in these play tests so they can put something in that really works and comes a beautiful product that everybody loves. Unfortunately, again, we lost it. We hope to get it back someday by actually talking to them in a separate interview, and we look forward to meet up with them and then bring you a lot more in-depth about what makes the studio tick. Until then, make sure you check out the playtest that is available starting this Thursday. You can check it on Steam or go to the website, as Jamie mentioned in the interview. Go check it out, bring a friend, and see what you think of Swapmeat. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you again in the next video. Thank you, stay safe, stay geek. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.